Today we're going to be going over appointment scheduling. There are several different methods for scheduling an appointment in the Scheduling Appointment book. In this section, we're going to be discussing each of those methods. Those methods include the drag and drop method, suggested scheduling method, as well as the schedule method. First, we're going to log into the application as a scheduling clerk. Once we're logged in, you can choose your bookshelf as well as your clinic if you want to look at their schedule. We're going to actually schedule an appointment. So we're going to plug in the name of the person that we're scheduling for. In this case, we're going to look up ambulatory test. It brings up the person search. Again, this is the person and this is their encounters associated with that person. We can do two patient identifiers so that way the ambulatory test is the correct patient we want to use. In this case, it is. So we're just going to go ahead and say OK. As you noticed, the allergies popped up immediately. So that way we can see what type of allergies that patient has, as well as any future appointments that this patient might have scheduled. Looks like they have one on 6/18. And it'll show the time, which might be pertinent when we're scheduling the patient. We can also choose an appointment type. If we plug in office as the precursor of what we want to choose, we can see all the office visit appointment types. In this case, we're going to schedule a follow-up. The appointment location is going to be at the actual clinic that we're scheduling for. And for whoever that referring physician is, we're going to plug that in here. You're also going to want to put in your reason for visit. In this case, we're just going to say a follow-up. But you may want to be more specific when you're actually scheduling. So now we've put the pertinent information in for this appointment, and we're going to move it over to the work in progress window. Basically, we've started to schedule this appointment for this specific patient, but now we need to figure out what day, what physician, where we're actually going to be scheduling this patient. So we're going to start with the drag and drop method. So right now I have my physician for the Sage Clinic and their schedules pulled up here. So I can actually grab this provider and drag it down to an 8 o'clock slot for Dr. Irk. And as I can see, our patient test ambulatory scheduled for their follow-up at Sage Clinic for Dr. Irk. And we can confirm that appointment. Any pertinent information, we know they need to arrive 15 minutes beforehand and bring all their current medication containers or a list of current doses. We could also note their allergies, the date and how long the appointment is, as well as what clinic and what physician they would be seeing. We can just say OK. At this point, we can add an encounter for the patient. So we're going to add an encounter. We also see the conversation clinic pre-reg popped up. We can right-click and highlight all the required fields because they were a previous patient, and most of these fields are already filled out. We can check through and make sure that there are no missing pieces of information. Looks like the encounter-specific information will always need to be filled in if it's a new encounter. So we're going to go ahead and plug in the correct information. It looks like we have everything filled in, so we're going to go ahead and complete this encounter. If we forgot any information, it'll focus in on the field that we need to actually complete. To register this patient, you can see there's a require field not completed, and it'll focus us in on it. Looks like I need to also provide information on the authorization. We'll just say it's not required. It completes the conversation and adds an encounter to that patient. You can see that by the FIN number and say OK. And now we have confirmed the appointment for test ambulatory at 8 a.m. on June 25th with Dr. Irk. The next method for scheduling that a scheduling clerk could utilize to pull up another patient this time we're going to use Ambulatory Todd, and we can see that this patient has already been in the system. So we're going to select that patient. This also pulls up the allergies for this particular patient. We can start typing in the type of appointment that we want and click enter. We can also pull up all the office appointment types. We'll say that this person's going to come in for a ear lavage. The referring physician that we put in here. And we're also going to put in a reason for the visit. So we're going to type in they're coming in for an earache. We can move this appointment over. And the next possible scheduling functionality that we can use is the suggest method. So if you click over onto suggest, you can plug in a range of dates that the patient says, I can come in the very last week of August. You could also, if say the patient wanted to be scheduled within 5 days, you could use that functionality. You could do date restrictions. So if they could only be seen on a Tuesday and a Wednesday, you can click and restrict all the other days. You could do a time range where they could only be seen in the morning or afternoon. You could plug that specific time in. There's also an interesting functionality with your preferences. You can basically show how many returns they have in the suggest functionality. You could have a specific amount of days in the date range. You could change your default time. And just any preferences that you want as you're scheduling this appointment. So now that we've defined that he can be seen the week of 8/20 to 8/24, and the time range is from 8 in the morning to, let's put in 12 in the afternoon. We're going to have the system generate suggested times that this person could come in for that date and that time. And it looks like it pulls back 5 suggested times, and we can pick whichever one works best for this particular appointment or patient. As you can see, when we pull this out, you can see the specific physicians or a particular physician that they'd rather see. We could see what resources or physicians are available, appointment locations, and we can also show how long the actual appointment's for. So in this case, they'd like to see Dr. Poinoff. She could do 8 a.m. on August 20th. We'll select that time. As you can see, it's check marked, and it shows that we've selected that time at 8:20 at 8 a.m. And we're just going to say OK. Now, if we go to August 20th and look at Dr. Voinoff's schedule at 8 a.m., there's an ear lavage for Todd Ambulatory at Sage. And his reason for why he's coming in and any other pertinent information all looks correct. So we're going to confirm the appointment. Any preparation that patient needs to take, like arrive 15 minutes early, you could let the patient know. And then just say OK. From here, we can also add an encounter. And why it's important to add an encounter is if they have any scanned documents that will need to scan into that patient for that particular encounter, we'll want to do that prior to the patient arriving. Or we could add the encounter when the patient actually presents at the clinic. So we're just going to add the encounter. We're going to plug in all the pertinent information. We completed that conversation, and it's been confirmed. And now that appointment's scheduled and confirmed. The last method is the scheduling method. So we're going to use our ambulatory test patient. We can plug in whatever appointment type we'd like. His is going to be a new patient. Our appointment location is going to be at whatever clinic is applicable. We're also going to put in our referring physician and a reason for the visit, which will be a physical. I'm going to move this to the work in progress screen, and then the scheduling functionality is the next possible scheduling method that we can use. We can pick whatever resource we wanted to go to, and we're going to have it go into Dr. Irk. Actually, let's have it go to Dr. Lloyd. We're going to have it go from 8 to 12, from about 8 a.m., and the appointment suggested duration will be about 1 hour. We're just going to say OK, and now we can see it's on Dr. Lloyd's schedule for 8:20:12, and that's the time that we have pulled up at 8 a.m., and we're going to confirm the appointment. We also have any preparation guidelines, like if they need to bring in any medication or come in 15 minutes early and have their insurance or a photo ID, and we're just going to say OK. And we're going to add the encounter at this point, put in any pertinent information that needs to be in there. If you say OK and you didn't have something filled in, it's going to focus on those fields. And it's going to assign the encounter to that specific visit. And it's been confirmed.